6 reasons why you do not feel like a man right now in your life. The reason number one is keeping your word with yourself and others. Now, for me, I've always believed in the concept that your word is your bond, especially as a man. If you say you're going to do something, you have to do it. You have to do it, or at least, in some cases things don't work out, but you need to feel like you truly gave 100% to make that thing happen. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But wholeheartedly that you kept that word and that intention within yourself. And this applies to people, right? So if you have someone, you've said you're going to be someone, you're going to do something, or you say yes to something, you need to make sure that you mean, like, when you say that, you really have thought, like, can I actually be there? Can I actually do it? Before you just throw yes and no's out there, because that's really going to affect your honor as a man. Your honor is massively tied to your masculinity, right? So I really believe that making sure the words that you're saying, they really mean a lot, right? You're thinking about what you're saying. And if you say to someone, I'm going to do something, you do your best to deliver on it. In some cases, you have every intention and something causes a problem. And I think that's forgivable. However, when I think you say you're going to do something and then you go back on that, I think that's a very dishonorable thing. And I think naturally men will lose, and people and your woman will lose respect for you if you don't follow through with what you're saying. But that's in the context of other people. But let's tie it back to yourself, right? And this is something I sometimes struggle with. I'll say I'm going to do this and this and this today, and the day will kind of go by and I haven't done those things, and I start to notice I'm like, I kind of don't feel as good about myself. I feel like my energy's low. I feel like sometimes I even get a sense of anxiety because I know I'm not actually doing the things I need to be doing to move the needle forward in my life. And the things that I said yesterday that I was going to do, and I really believed I was going to do it yesterday. And I'm sat here and it's 3, 4 hours into the day and I'm not making any progress, and you start to feel a little bit uneasy. And I think that's because you've made, or you've given yourself your word. You've said, I'm going to do this thing tomorrow. I'm going to do this thing, and you're not doing it. So keeping the word with yourself is huge, and there's elements to it. Like I said, in being conscious about what you're asking. If someone, if you're saying yes, I'm going to go meet you at this thing, or we're going to do this thing. Being conscious, can I actually deliver on it? Can I actually do it? Apply that same mentality to yourself. Like when you give yourself your word, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. If you're writing a whole load of things you need to do that day, that's completely unrealistic, then you might fail, and that it is foolish. You want to simplify it, find 1 or 2, 3 things that are the most important things you need to get done that day in order to move your life forward, and put your full focus and attention on those things. Once those things are complete, you're going to start to notice you feel a sense of accomplishment, a sense of productivity. You feel like you're actually making some kind of progress. And that is another way to feel more masculine as a man, because you are keeping your word with yourself. Okay. Next up is taking care of your appearance, guys. This is an interesting one. And again, my channel, I'm all about that authenticity. I'm all about keeping it real. My other videos were more just me opening up about stuff, but this one I wanted to really deliver some value you're going to walk away from and be like, okay, he's still dropping some value for us, But taking care of your appearance is huge, and it massively affects a lot of things, right? And I think to think that that's not an important thing is quite, you're mistaken, because the way you look, 93% of communication is non-verbal. It might even be 97%. I can't remember the exact number, but the way you dress, the way you carry yourself definitely plays a massive role in how you feel about yourself, how others perceive you. And, it shows that you have a level of self-respect and an understanding of, the situations, right? Guys, we look good in suits. We look good dressed up. We look good with our hair done. We look good, you know, um, in those scenarios. And there's a reason for that. It's because there's a certain intention that's gone into your appearance. And your appearance is massively important, especially when it comes to women. They are looking at these things. They are looking at, what are you wearing? What does this convey? Like, what kind of guy is this? Like, they can tell a lot by just the way you've picked your clothes out and how you've decided to dress. They can tell a lot about you, right? So that's a big thing. Now, I'm not one of these guys who's out here like, you need to dress like this and do this. I think you need to just keep it very basic. I personally, my style, it can definitely do with some improvement, and I'm being honest, that is something I need to work on recently. I've noticed, like, I've kind of neglected my fashion sense because I haven't really been out. I've just been hibernating the last 6 months. So now I'm out more and I'm in the spotlight more. Um, I'm more conscientious of the way I look, but also, you know, if you're wearing brand new clothes or you've got a brand new haircut, and your teeth are white and your skin is clear, you're just going to have more confidence. You're just going to carry yourself better. You're just going to walk with a spring in your step. You're going to walk into a room and you're going to not have an issue doing that because when everyone looks at you, you look good. You've taken care of yourself and you're well groomed. So you're going to feel better about yourself. And I think this truly ties to how masculine you feel as a man because it shows you're taking ownership and you're taking responsibility of your appearance, your hygiene, and the way you present yourself to the world. So that's another huge one, guys. So appearance is huge, and slacking on these areas, you can get away with it, but it's not something you want to neglect for too long. It's something that you need to, I'm not saying being completely obsessed. If you haven't got the perfect haircut, don't go and meet that girl. Don't go and do that thing. Or if there's a spot in your face, like that's becoming overly obsessed. But making sure each day you're putting systems in place that are making sure that you're maintaining a good sense of style, that you got clear skin, you got your hair cut in a way that looks good, right? So that's number 2. So number 3 would be don't isolate yourself. So I mentioned there 6 months hibernation. Do not isolate yourself. Do not lock yourself in your room for longer than 24 hours without some kind of social interaction, without changing your environment. Now, everyone's different, but I know for a fact that when I'm stuck in my room and I haven't gone out, and to be fair, I haven't done that today. So hopefully I'll get a chance to, expose myself to some people today. But it's so important to not isolate yourself. The book, The 48 Laws of Power, one of the laws is isolation is dangerous, right? Being isolated and not being exposed to the world, it starts to shut down the brain. You don't see as many opportunities. You lose social interaction. And I think most guys would agree that when you've just sat in your room for a long time, you can feel sometimes a little bit of anxiety when you go out or when you go to an event or something. You feel a sense of anxiety, but when you're frequently engaging and meeting different people, you'll start to notice that it's not even something you think about. Now, obviously, I'm connecting with people through, my work with coaching clients and things of that nature. So I'm always speaking to people, I'm always communicating, I'm making videos. So I'm always working on these skills, but regardless, it's so important to make sure that you're not isolating yourself, and, we're not meant to, we don't conquer the world from our bedrooms. We need to be out in the world as men. We need to be going and conquering new lands, new territories, new places, new people, new experiences, constantly learning and growing. And the bedroom has a purpose, it serves a purpose for your solitude, for, reading and developing your brain or mind, working. If you have a business, you can use the space to work, to sleep, to take care of yourself, to spend time with your significant other, if you have one at this point in your life, right? But too much of anything is not good, right? Equally, if you're out all the time, sometimes you need to come home and just spend some time to yourself. But if you're spending too much time alone, it's good to get out, the yin and the yang. That's what it's all about, guys. So do not isolate yourself, okay? And that means and that can also apply not just in the sense of locking yourself in your room, but when you are out in the world, you could still be isolating yourself. You could still be carrying yourself in a way that is avoiding any kind of connection to people. And I've done this myself, and I've stopped doing it because I realized that it's not helping me. But you need to be exposing yourself to new people, starting conversations, and just going the extra mile. Anyone can give the autopilot response when they're speaking to a cashier or they're speaking to someone. Stop doing that. Actually be present. Actually be present to the moment and say something witty, say something interesting. Say, I hope you have a nice day. Thank you very much for helping me or making that coffee for me. Have a lovely day. Look them in the eye and mean it. Say it with intention. Don't just say thank you like a robot. And when you do that, you're giving off better energy. You're giving off a higher vibration. And that woman or whoever it is that made that coffee will appreciate that. And as a result, it will make you feel better as a person. And this is another part of tapping into that sense of masculinity, right? It doesn't sound like it correlates, but it massively correlates, It's important to be out in the world and be conquering things. So that's number 3, guys. Number 4 is making excuses. Okay. I have done this myself. I'm an honest guy, guys. I'm an honest guy. I make excuses sometimes. And there's always a deeper reason. Like, an excuse is an excuse because you're ignoring the deeper reason of why you're not doing something, right? You're putting off the fact that it is this thing or it is that thing because it's a way to buy time. It's a way to rationalize in your mind. Now, making excuses is very detrimental because the thing you're making excuses is probably something you feel a sense of resistance to, whatever it might be. You feel a sense of resistance and you don't want to do that thing, but you need to. In order for your life to move forward and grow, you need to do it. But there's a resistance, there's a fear, there's just a discomfort to that thing. So you find a logical way to kind of explain why you haven't done that thing. And to feel more masculine, you need to face these things, whatever it may be. I know for me, there's certain things with work and business I need to do that I've been neglecting. And you know what? I just need to snap out of it. I just need to stop being an idiot and just get it done. And sometimes it's when the pain of not doing the thing, okay, becomes greater than the pain of doing it. That is when we typically go over that threshold. So you could look at that like when when you were in school and you had an assignment to do or a homework to do, and you only did it at the last minute. It's because the pain of not doing it has become more painful than doing it, because if you don't do it, you're gonna have to go into the school whatever the next day, and the teacher's gonna be like, hey, yo, why haven't you done this? So that there's a change in the threshold. So there are ways to overcome this, and I will make that in a separate video. But right now, in this moment, take this as an opportunity to, after this video, go ahead and do whatever that thing is that's on your mind, or even at least make a start. I mean, that is the ultimate goal. Even just if it's open a page or open the tab or write the first sentence or write the title, just do that now. And that's going to give you momentum, because momentum is huge, right? Momentum is huge. And if you start making excuses, you're building momentum in making excuses. Like, your life is literally just going to keep perpetually becoming more excuses, and nothing is going to happen. Okay. No good story came from the person who gave up. No good story came from the person who made excuses. The only good stories are the people that grind, pushed, and just never gave up on what it was they're trying to accomplish, right? And I know that's me, all right? I know I'm never going to give up. I know I've got what it takes, right? So I hope you feel the same way. But why waste time? If you know you're capable of doing something, you know you can do it, why are you wasting time? Go ahead and do that thing. Stop making excuses, whatever it may be in your life, and take responsibility for everything. A good leader takes responsibility for every situation, regardless, right? That's something you have to do, and you have to lead your own life. So you cannot be making excuses, okay? Okay, that's number 4. Number 5, guys, is playing video games, all right? Playing video games. Like, a lot of people are justifying this on things like TikTok and social media, saying, video games are good, they're good for the brain. And I can relate massively, right? Growing up, I pretty much grew up playing online games. I'm playing Call of Duty, Halo. I mean, off the top of my head, I can't just throw names at you, but I grew up in that generation of gaming, and it was a huge part of my life. Um, and it got to a point where, I was spending 16 hours a day, every single day, in my bedroom playing competitive online tournaments, XYZ. And I got to a good level. So I had this natural kind of desire to be a winner, to compete. And I was building my player, I was building my character, I was trying to get the highest rank in this virtual world, right? And one day I thought to myself, and I just thought, like, what I'm doing all this stuff, like, and I've learned that you can actually get good at things if you put the work in. Like, that's what I learned. And I thought to myself, well, I've done that in the virtual world. Why don't I try the same thing of putting work in the real world, and let's see what happens. And I made this commitment where I thought, and I know myself enough to know that I'm an addictive person. So I can't just leave the console there and just kind of, play here. No, it's like, it's either all or nothing. So one day I just made a commitment. I just said to myself, you know what? I'm going to sell this. I'm going to give it away, because I know there's something better on the other side of it. And I did that, and I've never looked back since. It's probably one of the best decisions I ever made in my whole life. And you have to understand that video games are highly addictive, highly stimulating. It's crazy. Like, and I've lived it. I've done it. I played so many games. Like, I can understand how addictive it is, but you have to realize that playing video games is not moving your life forward in any way. Now, there is an exception to the rule. If you are a pro gamer and you're making 100K a year plus, gaming, then fair play, man. I mean, if it works for you, works for you. But the most important thing out of all of it is it making you happy, you know? And I knew for me at that time, it wasn't making me happy. I saw the professional scene and I thought I could do this. You know, I could be a pro player if I really put the work in. Um, but then I thought, do I really want to do that? Do I really want to be one of these guys who spends their whole life in their bedroom? You know, and I thought, you know what? No, I think there's more to life than that. And I think for a lot of guys, I think you're being held back by gaming and playing video games. And I think a lot of guys want to justify it and keep it, but it's making you soft, it's making you weak, and it's making you childish. And you know, you need to always think like if a woman walked in your room and saw like, you know, what games you were playing, if you feel somewhat ashamed or you feel embarrassed by that, then maybe that's a sign that you don't actually feel like it's the right thing for you. Okay. Now, I know it's kind of harsh, and I'm not saying there's a one size fits all, but playing video games, I'd say 90% of the time is not going to be helping you. It's probably more of a cope, just the same way guys are watching adult content and busting nuts 24/7. All right. And the last one, guys, is listening to low vibration music. Okay. So I don't really listen. I listen to a decent amount of music, but there was a point where I used to listen to a lot of rap, and I used to kind of be into like all that type of music that was quote unquote cool, or you know, was like the good stuff at the time. And what I started to notice is like the lyrics and the things in it were just very degenerate and very kind of negative, right? Low vibration stuff. And music, you know, you have to think of it this way, right? Like, when else would you repeat a sentence over and over again? You know, no one ever does that. You don't repeat a sentence over and over again. So music is the only time we start repeating the same sentence over and over again. And I think these things are getting embedded into our subconscious mind, and we are now becoming like the things we listen to. So you have to understand that just the same way what you consume through food and what you drink, the music you're listening to, you're consuming it, you're taking it on, your whole body is taking it on, right? So making sure you're listening to the right thing, and the frequency of the sounds you're listening to. So for example, you could go ahead and listen to a piece of orchestra, or you could listen to like an opera singer, or you know, a classical piano piece from Beethoven or something like that. And these things actually have been shown, I'm pretty sure, and don't quote me on this, but from my knowledge, they have been able to see that the brain activity increases when these type of musics are listened to. And I know I've gone through phases where I've listened to a lot of piano music and stuff like that, and I have been incredibly productive, and I have been able to tap into sort of higher states of consciousness, so to say, to a degree, as a result. Whereas other types of music actually are just very basic and have no kind of deeper substance to it, right? So I'm kind of bringing that one up because music is something a lot of people consume. I think the quality of the music you're listening to, the lyrics and what you're hearing and how it's making you feel, is very, very important to get right. And what you're going to find is those big elite level celebrities are probably the ones that are injecting a kind of negative frequency into your brain. All right. So yeah, that's another thing that's going to help you feel more masculine. And not only that, music can also be a cope. You know, why do you want to listen to music all the time? Are you afraid of your thoughts? Are you afraid of what's in your head? You want to constantly escape reality? Because I know for me, you know, meditation is huge, and I would love to make more videos on it. But meditation is powerful, and you know, I'm spending 20 minutes just lying there in my own mind and finding a sense of equilibrium, finding a sense of peace. And nothing can be more, nothing feels so good than to do that. Whereas music takes you out of that, and it puts you in a really aggressive, or depending on what you're listening to, it puts you in an aggressive, or it puts you in a different state. So meditation can also be a great way to find that groundedness, find that centeredness, and that is going to make you feel more masculine, right? When you're all over the place and you're like, and you're just playing this song in your head over and over again, you know, that is not a masculine state. You're not going to feel masculine. You're not going to feel grounded. You're not going to give off this kind of aura and this presence of, I'm relaxed, I'm calm, you know, I'm grounded right now. And that is mainly achieved through meditation, right? Consistently. And that's something I would highly recommend. Okay. But guys, that's 6 ways. All right. 6 ways to become more masculine. Okay. I just pulled them out of my ass, but I know for a fact all of these things are things I back and I believe and I do myself, right? So if you did enjoy this video, you found value in it, you want me to make more videos like this, then go ahead and drop a like on the video, and I would love to hear your thoughts on what you want me to cover in the next video. Hope everyone has a beautiful day. See you in the